What common sense is actually wrong? Tilt your head back during a bloody nose. I get bloody noses all the time, always have, and the amount of times I'm just sitting there minding my own business with a tissue to my nose and somebody, usually older adults, walks by and tells me I should tilt my head back. No thank you, I don't want to flood my throat with nose blood, ma'am. Just ask them why, and see if they can explain. You should spend 2 months' wages on an engagement ring as a marketing slogan. They say 3 years salary. Michael Scott. Wow, maybe that's why he had to declare bankruptcy. Don't trust someone who won't look you in the eyes. Having social anxiety doesn't make you a bad person, and sociopaths have no problem staring you down. This can be cultural too. Many people consider sustained eye contact, especially between bin intimates, a sign of hostility, lying, or just generally creepy as a sock full of cockroaches. Edit. I won't edit bin intimates, because it had brought some joy, however fleeting, to the world. It may be a Freudian thing, where I meant to say one thing, but got it on with a dumpster diving comrade. That is all. Go about your usual duties. That people are good eyewitnesses. We aren't. Our perception of things sucks. We are prone to so many biases that we aren't even aware of. If I grade papers on an empty stomach, I will grade them lower than if I'm not hungry, and I will never admit that to be true, even though it is. Do not ever wait 24 hours before filing a missing persons report. If you have a reasonable suspicion that something happened to someone, call immediately. I have to say that this was eye-opening for me too. When my elderly dad didn't return for hours from what was supposed to be a routine jogging exercise on a very hot day, I called the police. They immediately filed a missing persons report so that a patrol car could start looking for him. He was okay. He'd just gotten lost. Despite all the bad press coverage these days about misbehaving police, I love our local police force. They do it how everyone should do it. Someone who you can rely on in times of need, rather than an enemy to be feared. In medical school we are taught that common things are common, and that when you hear hooves, think horses not zebras, meaning that we should always assume the most obvious diagnosis. Medical students almost always jump to the rarest disease when taking multiple choice tests, or when they first go out into clinical rotations and see real patients. And the most important lesson, it's never lupus until it is. Unless your name is House. The harder you brush, the cleaner your teeth get. All you're gonna do is cause gum recession. Edit. I guess this is a good platform to share dental hygiene tips. Brush with a soft bristle brush for 2 to 3 minutes. Don't do side to side motion. Make small circles on the surfaces of the teeth. Flick away from the gum line with short strokes, and vibrate the toothbrush near the gum line at a 45-degree angle from the tooth. Electric toothbrushes are great. They are less technique sensitive, and you just hold it over a tooth for 5 to 10 seconds without back and forth motion. Don't stick your toothbrush near your toilet for obvious, yet never thought about, reasons. To minimize poop ingestion, stick it in a drawer, or get a cover for your brush. You'll scrub away your tooth enamel as well. Once that's gone, you're screwed. Opposites attract in regards to relationships. Most of the time, they do not. Pretty sure that's misinterpreted. Opposite personalities attract. Opposite values and interests do not. Look at a couple that has made it a long time. Normally one of them is much more outgoing than the other. People who have nothing in common tend to break up. Just because you're not fat doesn't mean you're in good shape. I've been vegetarian for 15 years. Everyone thinks this means I eat healthy. I don't. My diet is mostly pizza and pasta, and whatever microwaves faster than it takes me to eat it afterwards. You don't need to wait 30 minutes before going swimming after eating. This was just invented by public pools to stop people bringing food into the water. I like to wait anyway. Getting acid reflux while swimming sucks. Same with irritable bowel syndrome and spicy food. Common sense says sun isn't out, and it is cool outside. You don't have to worry about sunburns. Worst sunburn I ever got. I remember reading that 80% of the sun's harmful rays escape through the cloud layer. Source: a poster in my dermatologist's office. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Psychologists actually showed that it's the reverse, which is why LDR are very hard. Out of sight, out of mind is more accurate. When I worked in spectator event safety, we learned, sports stadia, that when an evacuation is happening, the safest place to go to is the playing field, as it is usually open air, and therefore low risk, if it is a fire evacuation. However, common sense takes over crowd dynamics and people try leaving the way they came in, from the other side of the building. So this common sense tray results in thousands of people flocking into burning buildings. An example of this was the Bradford City Stadium fire. A huge chunk of the crowd headed back into the burning stadium looking for exits despite open air, the pitch being meters in front of them. When you see an emergency vehicle with sirens on behind you, you should always slow down and move to the lane or shoulder to your right. This is exactly what you should do on city roads, but on the highway, you should never brake for an emergency vehicle unless they are pulling you over or you're slowing for a stopped vehicle. Braking in front of an ambulance just slows them down and creates traffic jams. Maintain your speed and get your signal on and merge as soon as you can. And for God's sakes, stop slamming on your brakes to avoid a speeding ticket when you see a cop. Just take your lead foot off the gas and slow naturally. Driving with y'all is scary. If you know you're speeding, when you see a cop, braking can tip them off because they see both your nosedive and your brake lights. Ignore a bully and they'll leave you alone. No, they just see a weak target, smack the shit out of them if they already made it physical. Note, it is morally acceptable to nut punch when they've made it physical themselves. If you're in a city that has a big issue with traffic congestion, widening the freeway isn't going to make it better, and it might actually make it worse thanks to induced demand. I see you've driven in Atlanta. If you are stern with the person, retail worker, food worker, whatever, you will get what you want. We are more likely to bend over backwards to help you out if you are polite and kind, and not real likely to do it if you come in assuming your time is more important than ours or that the world revolves around you. You hold your breath if you run out of air while scuba diving. Wrong, your lungs will explode as you'll float upwards with a lung full of air, and you probably will try to surface anyway, and the air inside them expands. The proper procedure is to scream all the way up to make sure your airways are open. Except you forgot about scuba diving 101. Don't ducking dive alone. My regulator busted underwater once. I signaled my partner the out of air sign. He gave me his second regulator and we went up. Shit was as easy as when we did the exercises. Just put a little in your 401k and spend the rest. That's just wrong. You want to maximum out that son of a bee as soon as possible. Die by 60 is my plan. Going outside with wet hair will not make you sick. It will make you feel cold as hell though. Source, I'm Canadian. I've showered. You attract more flies with honey than with vinegar. Flies actually prefer vinegar over honey. You can catch flies with honey, but you'll catch more honeys being fly. Just throw your garbage in the parking lot. The cart people will pick it up. I mean, it's true, but at the same time, duck you, cart people. The concept of common sense. There's nothing common about it. Saying common sense to back up your reasoning is no different to saying, because I said so to your kid. Someone intelligent about one subject is intelligent about all subjects. People apply this all the time when it comes to plumbers, smart about pipes, but you wouldn't listen to them on healthcare outside of lead-in pipes, but put them in a suit and call them an actor, and they are clearly an expert in all subjects, especially politics and healthcare. Dr. Ben Carson is the #1 example of this. Amazing brain surgeon. The rest, eh. Also, life is easier when you're young/youth is the best years of your life. Growing up, everyone always said this is the best time of your life, enjoy it while you can. They were super wrong. I hated school, hated being a student, and hated the lack of freedom. I work 50-ish, it varies, 40 to 72, but 52 is most common, hours a week and it's great. I have money, freedom, I do what I want. Being a kid sucked. The slower and more defensive you drive, the better. Couldn't be further from the truth. You need a mix of defensive and offensive to be safe, keep traffic flowing, and to prevent bottlenecks. Don't be nice. Be predictable. Got any similar stories? Leave it in the comments below.